Is that your alarm?
Oh. Yeah.
Okay.
We're live.
Okay. I'm coming. Good morning. Good morning. We'll get back on over here. Good morning, everybody. Sew Together Tuesday. We're back. We're going to chill out, hang out. I threaded my machine and everything. I cleaned the bobbin case yesterday, so I got nothing to do. Oh, you know what I can do? Let's take a little quilting thing off my... Here, I'll bring it over here and you can see it. Hold on. So, I'm using my Bernina today, so I have the walking foot, but I have my little quilting guide on here. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago for our self-binding blanket when we did the big one, and I was saying that you could use this as a guide. It also works for a throw. When I'm doing the top stitching, I use this thing. So, but I don't need it for the project today, so I'm going to see if I can get this little guy off. Do-do-do. There we go. No, I don't need that. I'll put this back on my machine. Okay, we always use a walking foot. Sorry, my hands are going to be in the way. We always use a walking foot. Oh my goodness, I can't see. There we go. And this is the Bernina one. There we go. Okay, get that thing locked on there. The biggest thing, I'm going to actually take the camera from you for just a second, because I want to show that the biggest thing is getting this little hook job over the needle screw. Okay, can you point to it from that side, Hawk? Do you see what I'm talking about? This little hooky thing? You point to that? Yep, that guy right up there. Okay, that thing has to go over the needle screw, and if it's not there, your walking foot isn't going to work. So it's like the biggest problem that I ever see with walking feet is that people haven't installed them correctly, and so then they don't walk right. That's all that is just make sure that that little hook is over the needle screw, I think is what it's called. So anyway, welcome to Sew Together Tuesday. There's your little inside tip for the morning. I'm Teresa Coates. I'm the National Educator for Shannon Fabrics, and today we are here for another episode of Sew Together Tuesday. We are doing an embroidery bench pillow today, so we'll talk about that in a little bit, but I wanted to welcome you. It is Thanksgiving week, so we have a short week this week, but a long eating day on Thursday, and I'm very excited about that, so that'll be a lot of fun. It's going to be me, just Hawk and I, hanging out in our home here in LA, so that'll be great. But I wanted to say thank you to everybody here who comes and watches and who participates. Thanks to all the people in I Love Cuddle, our little Facebook group. It's super fun, and I totally adore you guys and appreciate you coming, watching, and learning alongside me. It's super fun. I really appreciate it. So I also wanted to tell you one of the things that we're doing. We've talked about it a little bit before, is that we are doing I want to say a food drive, and that's not quite the right word. Michael will tell us. We're raising funds to feed families that need help with their Thanksgiving dinners and with food in general. So we have a group called, a nonprofit called Making the World a Softer Place, which is very appropriate, right? And we're trying to do some good in the world. We will, hopefully it's already there in the comments, we are doing this drive, so you can actually donate to the drive and help feed people in Los Angeles and in Utah. We're feeding, I think they said 4,100 families this year. So if you can help out with that, it'd be great. There's a link to it. You can go to the page and you can donate any amount of money. So $40 will cover for a family of 6 for their meal. I think that's right. And so $40 is all it is. If that's more than you can afford, donate anything that you can if you're able to. I think that by working together, we actually can make the world a softer place in lots of ways. So thank you for your help in that as well. And thanks to everybody who's donated already. It's been really great. So thanks. And happy Thanksgiving this week. Okay. Anything in there that I need to know yet? Okay. All right. So we're here. We're going to make a bench pillow today. Kimberbell from Kimberbell Designs. I'm here with Hawk, obviously. He is filming for me. Thank you. I'm grateful for him as well. Goodness, these Sew Together Tuesdays would be a lot harder if you watch the ones where I've tried to do it myself. is a thing. I cannot do it so well by myself. So thank you, Hawk. I appreciate
You're welcome. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
So today we're going to do it. I really wanted to do something that was Thanksgiving themed, and then I realized it was so last minute that like nobody was going to be able to sew this before a Thanksgiving project before Thanksgiving. So we are doing a Christmas themed one, but I wanted to talk about their bench pillows. So the one we're doing today, let me show you that one, is this guy here. Okay, this is from Kimberbell. This is the little bench pillow that we're going to make. They make a bunch of these patterns, and they're all embroidery. Okay, so they are machine embroidery. I don't think they have hand embroidery. I think it's all just machine. So they are super cute. I love them. They also have them in a variety of different styles. So if you don't want to make a snowman one, they have a bunch of different ones, and they have them for all the seasons and holidays and all sorts of stuff. So it's kind of a fun project that you could actually like do in different ways. So buy the bench pillow form, and then you can make bench pillows all year. Okay, so that's what we're doing today. Make sure I took notes today so I can make sure I got everything. Oh yeah, we want to make sure that you share the video. So share the video with your friends, with your sewing groups, all of that good stuff, and you'll be entered to win. At the end of the show, we will announce a winner, and that winner will receive a Shannon Fabrics kit. So we're going to start giving away the Cuddle strip quilts and the strip quilt kits. And so if you share the video, you'll be entered to win, and at the end, we'll give one away. All right, so maybe you'll be one of the lucky winners. Okay, I think that might be it. It's always like tick, 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 tick through my brain, try to figure it out. All right, I think so. Yep, okay. So this is the pattern we're doing from Kimberbell Designs. Great stuff. Okay, you can get all of their embroidery patterns and all sorts of other patterns and stuff that they have. They have lots of like accoutrements for accoutrement. Is that how you say it? For all the embroidery stuff, and so we can you can make it like fancier, and they sell lots of different things. So the patterns and all the other stuff that go with it, and you can find those at quilt shops everywhere. So check out your local quilt shop for that, and you can make lots of them. They're super fun. So I made this one. So come on in. Made this one on my Baby Lock Pathfinder is what I have. All right. So this is what literally I spent yesterday doing, was making this guy. Okay. So I made all of this on the Pathfinder using the threads and the fabrics that I had. So we wanted to talk a little bit about how I did it. So you can see it's to the point, it's not, it doesn't have the cute stuff on it. So I don't have any eyes on it, and I don't have the little snowball cap things, the pom-poms on. We'll do that later. I wanted to get this done first. And it's not, there's a couple little things I have to fix on it, but it's okay. All right. So what I want to talk about is how I did it. So I made a cute little version that is with the hat that Hawk was wearing in our gift guide little show. And so I did it in this version. So this is the little penguin from the middle of that, and I just did it with a different cap on here. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the stabilizers and stuff that I used. So this is, these are both Floriani. This is a fusible tearaway, but I didn't actually fuse it. You can see the little sparkly bits on it maybe, and that's the fusible, but I didn't fuse it. I just stuck it on there. And then I used a Robert Kaufman Quilter's linen for the back, which I really like. And this is their metallic one, so I'm not sure if you can see the sparkle bit of it. Woo, woo, woo. It's really pretty. I really love this stuff. So I used this for the background to give a little bit of a snow. And I just had a fat quarter. So I'm making this, and I'm just going to make a little bitty pillow out of this. That's the plan. But I wanted to show it to you. So anyway, tearaway on the back, Floriani tearaway. And I just stuck that on there, did all the embroidery, and then this is their water-soluble fusible. Okay, so the water-soluble fusible is super good, and I really love it because it makes things work nicely. So one of the things that I found about this is this design. You could see this, so I'm going to have to go back and I'm going to have to trim this all, okay, because I couldn't get it to stitch in or to come in. So if you guys have a little solve for me on that one, because I'm a newbie at the embroidery stuff. So the only thing I know is that I can come in here and I can like give him a little haircut. Ding, ding, ding. Cutting his bangs. Okay, so if there's a better way of doing that, I would love to hear from you. Otherwise, that's what I'm going to spend the afternoon doing, is trimming out the hair from his, not hair, but the nap from his little cap. Okay, but then I've got his little cap. The one thing I wanted to show you was So when I did this, you could see I used, for some reason, I didn't change my thread color for one thing. So I used the orange and then I stitched it in the wrong place, which I am learning to problem solve as I go. So you may be familiar with this method of learning. It seems to work pretty well for me, but I do it a lot. So I took out some of this, but then I left some because I wanted to show you what I did, because this may happen to you. Some of my reading glasses on so I can see. And then all I'm doing is I'm taking my favorite little tool, this little guy, the oval blade, and I go in between. So I've mentioned this before on the I Love Cuddle group, is that if you cut between the fabrics, it's better. Okay, oops, I just cut the paper. Oh well, it's going to tear off anyway. But if I cut these stitches, it's better than if I try to unpick them. Okay, so then I can come back over here and I can just pull that up. Okay, so when you're trying to take stitches out with Cuddle especially, but I found with the embroidery it works just as well as if I just cut in between the fabrics. So this is fabric and paper, but if I cut in between here, I'm less likely to cut things I don't want to cut, and it's also easier to get it underneath the thread. Okay, so I'm going to trim this guy up later, but if you have any tips for me, I'd love to hear them.
Somebody said you can adjust the nap before you embroider with your stiletto.
Oh, I'm afraid to get my stiletto near that needle. It goes so fast. I have to try. Okay, I'll try. I figured I could kind of pull. Drink more coffee. That might be a problem. Yeah, so anyway, he's super cute. I think he's going to be adorable no matter what, even if he has some weird little like taily bits hanging out. I think he's adorable. I'll post it later on the I Love Cuddle group so y'all can see it. I have a little ball to add to his head after I do this too. So I'm going to build this out kind of in the same way that we're going to do the bench pillow, and I'm just going to make a smaller version of it that'll be just a little pillow. Just a square pillow is what I'm going to do. So anyway, that's coming later on the I Love Cuddle group, but that's what I did for now. So that's the way they work. Then I tore this away, and then we have that big thing. Okay? All right. So I'm going to set this aside. Actually, I'm going to move it to the side so I don't, I'm going to throw it over here so it doesn't get in my way. These were the two products that I used. So this is the tearaway, and this is the water soluble. Okay? The water soluble I've just found is super good. That one was, I can't remember who taught it to me, but it's a pretty well-known product to use. It really does make a huge difference in how things turn out. I don't have any problem except for sometimes my nap gets slung out. I do remember somebody told me I think you can adjust the width of your stitch too, and I need to look at that. I have found that I adjusted the presser foot pressure on my embroidery machine, so the height of it I guess is really what it is, not the pressure, but the height of it, and that seems to work really well as well. So if you haven't tried embroidery, I'm just going to tell you, give it a shot. It's super fun. I love the different textures. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but I love mixing the stuff up and seeing what happens. That one was Luxe Cuddle Hide, just so you know, for the top. When I used, I think it's, what did I use over here? The Sherpa? Yeah, when I used the Sherpa on here, I didn't have that problem at all. Okay, so the Sherpa didn't want to sneak out, and I think maybe because the nap is shorter. Okay, I just put the water soluble stabilizer on that and sewed it anyway, or embroidered it, and it was fine. Okay, so I wanted to try a different one, so I did. We saw what happened. It'll be okay. All right, so I did all the embroidery thing, got that middle done. I will tell you, it takes a little while. Be careful with the marking. That's what happened with me, is I wasn't, I had to readjust things, and then I ended up stitching in the wrong place. Luckily, I could just take the stitches out and redo it. So the way embroidery works is if you're careful, Teresa, you can get it right. So sometimes I have to fix things because I'm a little hurried, but it totally works. I can fix things. Okay, so we have the middle part. And then I want to put together the outside. So let me show you the pattern really quick and show you what we're going to do. Okay, so on the pattern, I've got this middle part. So this is the part that I did. You can see the pom-poms, and this one has little ties. These we're going to do afterward, the same with the eyeballs. We're going to do those later. Right now, we're going to work on these, which are the snowballs. So I did a whole bunch of them, but I'm going to do one and show you how I did it. Because we're working with Cuddle, and this is a quilt pattern, technically you're supposed to be using quilting cotton, then it works a little bit differently. When we did the Tuscan quilt a while ago, we did something that makes the Cuddle work as if it were a cotton. So we use SF 101 Pellon SF101, which is this stuff here. We're going to use it so that Shape Flex is their brand name for it. Okay, what it is this is a woven interfacing. Okay, so it's a woven that's fusible. And what I do is I iron this on the back of it. I've just got one little piece that we're going to iron today, but I wanted to show you because I get this question all the time of can you actually iron it? Or like, you're not supposed to. And I really love it when people tell me that you can't iron on Cuddle. And I'm like, I do it all the time. Guess what? You can't. So let me get my ironing board. Okay, my handy dandy one, which already has some Cuddle dust on it, getting it ready. And I've got my little Eliso iron and I heated that up already. I've got it on a medium setting. So what you want to do whenever you're ironing on Cuddle, because you totally can do it, but you have to use a medium setting. So there's a setting always on there for synthetic fabrics, so polyester and that sort of thing. Put it on that setting. You don't want to use it on your linen and cotton setting, which if you're a quilter, that's where it's just the default is just as hot as it'll go. Thank you very much. When we're working with polyester and with the Cuddle fabrics, we want to keep it on a lower heat because the heat will mess up the fabric. That's really the biggest thing. This one, I really like this because it has a large flat area. What I found is if you have one that has no steam holes, it's even better because it'll be the steam holes that cause any problem. So don't use the steam, use the flat parts, but it totally works. All right, so let me get this. Let me show you what I did. Okay, so these I ironed out a big section and then I cut them out. Okay, so that's what these are, the little squares here. Okay, and I just ironed a larger section of the Cuddle, and then I cut out the pieces. That's the easiest way of doing it. I didn't do that with this one because I want to show you how it works. So I've got my piece of Cuddle. Okay, so this is just the C3, Cuddle 3. Doesn't matter which way my nap goes. Okay, I'm just going to turn it over. I'm going to put the SF101 on there. Okay, just set it on here, and then I'm going to iron it. I'm just going to press it, and I press it for a few seconds, and then I'll move it. I'll press it again. One of the things you want to make sure not to do is to slide it. So a lot of times when we are ironing, and especially if we're ironing out cotton, we tend to do this thing where we like do this, and we really push it across. You don't want to do that with Cuddle because what will happen is it'll stretch, and then as it stretches, you're ironing in place, fusing it to the back, and then it'll pull up and just wrinkle. Okay, so we want to do it nice and flat. Ta-da. Did not mess it up at all. So if you've heard that it will mess it up and you can't do it, here's your example. It totally works. Okay? So now I've got it fused on here. I don't worry about fusing it so hard that it will never move. So if I let this cool, I could probably take the backing off. But what I'm doing here is just sort of getting it on. It's fine. It's not like certain things, like if you're using the SF101 for a bag or something like that, you really want to fuse it really well. Or recently I did a t-shirt quilt. You want that to fuse really well. Read the instructions on the interfacing. All of them have slightly different instructions, and they'll tell you exactly how to get the best fuse on it. So make sure you look at that. I think a lot of times we get things like that. We think we know how to use them, and then we just chuck the instructions, but there are good instructions for it. So the Pellon SF101, we got that on the back. And then I've got my other little squares. Okay, so let me turn my iron off because that's the only time I'm going to need it. I just wanted to show you guys that it really does work. Okay, so now we're going to make snowballs. If you're a quilter, you know what I mean? If you are not, you're probably wondering what the heck is a snowball. What we're going to do is we're going to sew, and we're going to make these little shapes. Okay. So here is the string of them that I made. Speaking of threads hanging out. Okay, so we're going to make this block right here. This is a pretty traditional quilt block, but we're going to make it out of Cuddle today, and it's totally doable. All right, so what I did is, you saw I had those little red squares. I fused the Pell onto that. What that does is makes this work like a woven. So now it won't be so difficult to get those corners to work. We're going to do things a little bit differently because it's Cuddle. I'm going to show you that. Okay, so I'm going to find my nap first so I can push it up and I can see that'll be my little zebra stripes. I'll push it down I can do it sideways and it's smooth either way, so that way I know that this is top to bottom. We've talked before that the stretch is widthwise, which it would stretch, except that I put the fusible on it, so now it doesn't stretch at all. Okay, so now it doesn't stretch in either direction, which is exactly what we want. Still will stretch bias because we've made it work like a woven. Okay, so here's my nap. I'm going to put these little squares on. So this is what I learned yesterday doing these. Is I'm going to put these on in the direction of the nap. Okay, one of the things you probably can tell here is if I bend it, you can see it'll like sort of come up in rows. Can you kind of see that on there? Okay, where if I do it this direction, it doesn't do that. So I know that my nap is actually running this way. Okay?
Got it.
So there's those little blips. I spent a lot of time with this fabric yesterday. Okay, I learned a lot about these little squares. Okay, so I'm going to get them all going in the same direction. So when I pet my little block, they're all going this way. Now what happens is I want them to be this direction when I sew those little half square triangles, right? So what has to happen is that these have to come here, and then it will be like this. And then all my nap goes. So I just flip it over. So what I realize is that this corner has to go to that corner. This corner has to go to that corner. And this corner has to go to that corner.
So sort of inside out.
Sort of inside
corner,
out, because what we're going to do is when this turns up and we have those corners, then my nap is going in the same direction still. Okay, not super critical, but you know, I like to make my nap go in the right direction. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to mark these. I'm going to hope that my pen works because I didn't test it first. This will be the time. It's not going to work. Let's see. Oh, it did. Okay, good. So I'm going to sew these from here to here. I found that it's easiest just to mark it first, because then I can, I don't have to kind of judge it. I can just follow the line. Okay, and I'm going to sew from corner to corner. So these aren't on there perfectly yet, and that's fine. I just want them basically there, and then I'll go ahead and pin them. So that square ended up a little short. Not that that ever doesn't happen when I'm using quilting cotton too. Okay, so now I've got my corners. So these are my seam lines that I want on there. Now I'm going to shove these up to the corner. Because the nap is going in opposite directions, it wants to fight me a little bit. So I'm going to shove it up here. Get the cuddle dust out of the way a little bit. And I'm going to push it up and I'm going to hold it and I'm going to stab it through before I let go. So I'm going to hold out the outer one to make sure that that corner matches. You can see this wants to pull this way, so I'm actually going to pull it this way, put it down. Okay, so it's just kind of a little bit, oh, that is a bent needle or pin. Let's get rid of that one. Okay. Okay, and I want to sew these around. I'm going to sew around in a circle, basically. So I'm going to pin this one so that my pins go in the right direction. Okay, so I'm going to pin on either side of that again. And I'm pinning it so that I can, so the reason I don't pin it this way is I can leave the pins in this way. So I can just leave them and sew in between and keep working my way around and not have to take pins out. It'll hold it better as I sew around the little square. Okay, and because the nap is there, definitely there's like some fluff and you can probably kind of see it in the middle. That's going to be normal. Sometimes the fluff seems wrong, but it's totally what will work. All right, I didn't say it, but if you have questions, please ask. Okay, so this is, like I said, this is a traditional quilt block pattern. You can totally use cuddle to make all sorts of traditional sort of quilt blocks. All right, so are you ready to come around?
Sure.
Okay, so today we're sewing on the Bernina. We switched it up. So normally we sew on the baby lock, and today I have the Bernina. One, it just works really well with this, and I thought I haven't used it in a while for up here, so I thought I'd show you guys. It also, they figured it was a good way for you to see probably what your machine looks like, because if I haven't convinced you yet to buy the baby lock, oh no, guess what I can't find? my stiletto. How do I do this? I had it. Oh no. I'm a little worried. I use my tweezers. We cleaned up and then it got lost. Okay, so I'm going to do a little back stitch. I am going to up my stitch to a 3. Okay. I'm going to back stitch a little. Then I'm going to go forward. Okay, and the only thing that I want to really make sure that you understand as we're sewing across is one of the things I do is I kind of make this go flat and try to stay on that line. I'm going to get here, back stitch a little, come off, and clip my thread. Okay, and we're just going to work our way around just like this. Okay, I did have some issue every once in a while because I think I made 10 of them, I think. I made 9. This is number 10. Is that sometimes that little tail would catch. That is a common problem. A common problem for working with cotton too, is that this wanted to catch up a couple of times. So I found that if I start in, so you can see I'm starting past it where I'm catching that corner down over here, and then I'm going to back stitch. It wants to do a lock stitch every time because so there you go. See, it like wants to pull in. I just kind of keep it flat. Okay, and then I can get it to come over here. You can see that move just a little.
What model of Bernina is this?
It is a 535. And I could probably turn off that automatic lock stitch. It does that because I cut the thread, so it automatically does a lock stitch. And normally that would be great, but I actually want to do this back stitch so that I can get it to go to the edge and not catch that little corner. Okay, so like here I can see my needle is going to come awfully close to that, so I'm just going to pull it out a little bit, and that way I can get to the end, not hit it, back stitch a little, and clip my thread. Okay, all right, and I took a couple pins out as I went because they were in my way. Now I'll just take out the rest of the pins. Okay, and I've got my little square. So at this point I need to trim them all. I can make sure that they worked. This would not be something that I would fix even if they didn't. Okay, so I would just leave it. So at this point I'm just going to cut off these corners. You could use your rotary cutter if you wanted to. And I'm cutting them off at, I don't know, 1/4 inch-ish. So one of the things that you would normally do is you would normally go and press this. What I found is that it really didn't make any difference. I couldn't get it to press open because it's cuddle and it doesn't want to do that. It also has really thick, seam allowances, so it wants to kind of bump up. So I just did a little bit of hand pressing, finger pressing like this. So I got it to at least sort of open. Okay.
Are you using the stretch needle on the Bernina as well?
I am. Yep.
Got it.
Yep. Schmetz 9014 stretch needle. Absolutely. And because the needle makes a difference on the fabric, it's not so much about the machine. So yeah, I always use one when I'm working with cuddle, even though I've made it so that it is basically a woven at this point with the SF101 on it. I am still going to work with it as if it were like completely just a knit. Okay, so I have the stretch needle in there. All right, I used a bigger stitch length, all of that good stuff. Okay, so now I'm going to sew this on here so we have a complete one. So all I'm going to do here is make sure that my seam allowance is opened. So I'm going to pin it through that to make sure that that stays open, because as I sew it, I actually want it to catch that. Okay, if you find that you've done these, and these I looked and I did a pretty good job of getting these edges to match up afterward. If you've done snowballs before, you know sometimes these corners end up real wonky. Half square triangles have a tendency to do that. You can totally just trim it up. I'm just going to leave this as is, but you could feel free to trim it. All right, so now I'm just going to sew this along this edge. And I am using 1/4 inch seam allowances because that's what the pattern calls for. If I were only using cuddle, I would want it to be a bigger seam allowance, but I think that it works totally fine with the 1/4 inch with the interfacing on the back of it. Wrong foot pedal. Okay. All right. This is when I need my stiletto. How could I forget my stiletto? Where is it? I almost grabbed another one downstairs and I was like, I'm fine. I've got it. Okay. This is what happens sometimes. You see this? Does this ever happen to you? The thread gets stuck down there. Drives me crazy. So I just go into there with my little blade, cut it off. Okay, if you keep sewing, it will just get worse. So don't keep at it. Okay, get my foot positioned so it'll keep that or the seam allowance down. There we go. Okay, there we are.
That penguin print is one of our digital cuddles, right?
Yep. This is just a digital cuddle. It's called Just Chillin', I think. Something about chillin'. Super cute. Super duper cute. And we're going to use this in a few places in the little pillow here. So now I've got that one completely done. All right. So now we're going to set that aside. So now I've got my 2 rows. So if we look at the pattern again, I'm going to have, I've got this finished, and now I have this one finished, and I already did that one. That one is right here. So now I've got those 2 pieces. Okay, so we've got this finished. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on batting. So to make this, you don't have to do this, but I like to sort of base this stuff on batting. One is you could quilt it. I'm not going to because we don't have time for that, but you could totally quilt it in the picture they do. They do this little like cute little quilting design, and you could absolutely do that. I'm just going to stick it on the batting. Peekaboo. I'm just going to stick it on the batting. So what I did to get this right, because sometimes this happens, is that I don't get things centered exactly. So I cut out a piece of the poly batting that I like so much from Quilter's Dream, and I made the box in the middle that is the size that I cut that out to be. So I can't remember what the size is, 9 by 31, I think. Follow the pattern, they'll tell you. And then I cut this out to be the entire size of the front. So it should be that when we get this together, it's the size of batting. We'll see. Fingers crossed. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this now onto here. So if I were going to quilt, I would put this on here and then I would quilt it. I'm not going to quilt it, but I am going to put it on. So I'm going to do it the same way that I do any sort of spray basting for the cuddle fabrics. Is I'm going to fold this over right sides together so I can spray it, and I'm not going to get any spray on the front of my little quilt thing. All right, and I saw that Ellen just asked a question if the penguin square was interfaced, and yes. So if you look at the back of this, so these are all have the interfacing. Okay, you can probably hear the woven part of it. Okay. So yeah, these are all interfaced on the back. All right, so I'm going to spray the back of this. So I'm going to spray the wrong side of this fabric and then pull it over. And I'm going to try not to overspray too much because I don't have my favorite sheet up here to put it on. Okay, so now I'm just going to put it in basically the space that I told it has to go. I'm going to make it fit.
So what's this red and white chevron?
The red and white is from Kaufman. It's a Robert Kaufman it's an Ann Kelly design, but it's years old, like probably 6 years old. Okay. All right, so now it's close enough.
It's got a little Twin Peaks thing going on, so you know.
Yeah.
I like it.
I like it too. Yeah, I love chevrons. I just think they're really fun. They're a good like little base print. Okay, so now I've got this basted on. If I were going to quilt it, that's when it would happen. Okay, I am going to later, I'm actually going to go around here because one of the things about working with batting is that the reason we quilt it is because the batting will fall apart. This should be fine because it's going to have this section, but then there's going to be seams here, so it should be okay, but I think it'll be fun to make that pop, so that's my plan for later. Okay, so I've got this down, and now I need to add my borders. So I'm using because I'm just using stuff out of my stash because We're all sort of stuck at home. I am using, this is an Andover print, and I can't remember who designed it, but it's old, it's out of print. Sorry, it's really cute. Get something similar if you want to make it. This is the thing. It's like, I'm just sewing out of the things that I already have. So I got to do what I got to do. So I'm going to go ahead and pin these down, and I'm going to sew each of the edges. And get these fairly straight, and I'm going to sew these on. And I'm actually going to pin both sides. Put that to the side for right now. I'm going to pin both sides so I can just kind of whack them out. Just bam, bam. All right. Get that taut. Get it nice and taut. Get this on here. I'm going to line it up with my line and not the fabric. My fabric went off just a little here, and I'm going to say that it's probably wrong. Okay.
So in this case, because the pattern is so strong on the background cotton, you're following the pattern as opposed to where you cut it.
Yes. Yeah. And I got it off just a little bit here, like it's not quite on the line, so I'm going to line this gray up with the line.
Oh, gotcha.
So that's sort of what I'm doing. I did kind of line this up. I will say with the chevron, it was really hard to get it even sort of straight on there. That was, chevron was probably not the smartest background, but it was cute. So I did it. And I used to have a whole bunch of Christmas, Ann Kelly's Christmas stuff, because I really love it. And then I used it all. So this was the last one. The last one. Okay, so now we're going to do it. I'm going to sew this 1/4 inch down the side here. Do a little back stitch. I just use the, come on. Oh, wrong petal again. That's going to be a problem. All right. And I'm just going to use the walking foot for all of it. One, because it's already on there, but two, it just makes it all easy, especially since we're using batting. Okay, so I got that side done. And now I'm going to do this one. All right, and you notice that I pinned the other direction. It's because I'm sewing with cotton. Cotton doesn't move nearly as much. Hold on, I got to move that foot. Sneaking away under the table. That's what happens. Yeah, normally the foot pedal sneaking away is a very common problem. And so up here I have for the baby lock, I actually have it double stick taped, like it's big strong tape
right,
to the floor so it doesn't move.
3M mounting tape. You can get it at Home Depot and just locked it to the floor.
So we locked it to the floor. It's great. So we used that 3M tape, locked it down. It's awesome. But because we changed machines today, my other foot is slip sliding around. So if you ever have problems with your foot walking, I tell you, put the tape down. It works magically. Okay. So I'm gonna just finger press this side. I bet my iron's still warm. Okay, so then I'm going to put these little strips on. So now we're going to do the same thing. And if you have watched this very much, you know I like to pin one end, then pin the other, and that is totally what I'm going to do here too, because I know that this should be the size that it's supposed to be. Like, it told me a size, I cut it out that size, I'm going to make it fit, and then work it in between. Okay. When you do this, it will make your end result much better. Okay, so now I can get that. I'm just going to pin in here a few times to make sure it stays where I want it to. Cotton does this neat thing of sticking together really super duper easily. All right, now we're going to turn around and do the same thing on this side. This one I'm going to pin a little bit more because it is cotton on the cuddle. Okay. So I'm going to pin the corner. Then I'm going to come over and pin the other corner. Make sure that's stretched out nice and flat. Okay. They're doing all right out there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Questions
if you got them.
To use the liner of your toolbox, or or maybe your cupboard cupboard liners.
Yep, yep.
And it keeps your foot pedal from sliding around
Yep,
too.
that works too. There was something else that somebody just said recently. What was it?
505 spray.
505 spray, no, no. That's a good one, though. That 505 spray could be a problem. I can't remember what the other one was. I'll remember it. There's lots of things. It's just, yeah, they do slide around pretty, pretty much a lot. It's always a problem. I end up like sliding, and because my foot pedal, so show my foot, I sew with my foot pedal backwards. So I show it this way. So I sew this direction, which means I'm always sort of pushing here, which means it slides. So you can see I knocked it up to the baby lock one, which doesn't budge. So I just put it on here. But anyway, mine slide a lot. So if your foot slides a lot, there are ways to fix it. Just saying.
I'm just going to say this is the first time I've seen you sewing in shoes in a while.
I know. It's kind of weird, huh?
Barefoot sewer.
Yeah. But it's because I'm wearing tights. And I thought it would look weird if I was just up here in my tights. So, I don't know, I have weird justifications for things. All right, we're going to do a little lock stitch. And I'm just going to make sure that this is here along the seam line. And I'm going to give it a little bit of a tug because the knit wants to pull up just a little. So I'm going to make sure that it's staying where I want it to. And just sew along this 1/4 inch. Try not to stab my finger too hard. Try not to cause too many problems there. Okay. I'm going to pin a little bit more than I thought I would need to because it wants to move more than I want it to. Okay. And I'm just using the 1/4 inch mark on my foot for that. I'm trying to be careful. Get a good 1/4 inch. Okay, so if you saw how much I pinned, I didn't pin a lot, and I was like, maybe it'll be okay. It's not really. It needs more pins. Kind of like more cowbell, but more pins. Makes it better. All right, yeah, that's working a lot better. More pins. Okay, and this is super thick. If you can see here, like we've got the gray, the white, the orange, the background fabric, and then another layer here. So this one I can feel it kind of fogging down just a little bit, for lack of a better word. Okay. So where it gets thick, it'll definitely give me a little bit more hassle, but not too bad. And I actually really love, we didn't talk too much about it, but I really love this mix of textures. I love mixing cotton with the cuddle. I think it's just super cute. And it lets you use patterns that you'd otherwise think you couldn't do out of cuddle. Almost there. And I did not change my stitch length back. I left it at a 3. We'll see what happens.
So this is a Bernina walking foot, right? And you
yes.
And the Bernina also has a free motion foot, but that's not what this is, right?
Right, exactly. Yep. This is a walking foot. The free motion foot is that's the one that like comes down and also like a darning foot. For people who remember what darning is. So now we're going to do the other side. And while I have it up here, I'm just going to pin a couple more times since I realized on the other side I need more pins. Just going to start it that way here. Pin it a little more. Okay, this one will probably be less hassle because it's cotton on cotton. I won't have to write over cuddle at all, so it might be less, but you know, I'll pin it more just in case. I do like my pins. If anybody knows anything about me, I do like to use my pins, especially with the cuddle. But otherwise, pins come in handy. They keep things where I want them to be. All right. So this is why we didn't put on the pom-pom yet on any of these, because you can see where this hits. It would totally just be in the way. So we're going to wait to do that until the end. It's the same for the eyes. You could put on the eyes earlier since I'm not quilting, but I left them all off. We'll do all the embellishments at the end. Embellishments, that was the word I was looking for earlier with Kimberbell.
Nice.
It was embellishments. They sell a bunch of them. Some really cool stuff. Yeah.
How much effort are you adding to the fabric with your left hand, the back hand? Are you pulling
I
it?
don't pull. I just keep it sort of taut. So like that's how much I'm pulling it. Like you can see, it's not really much of anything. It's really just to guide it through. What happens, this is a great question, because what people tend to do is they tend to push the fabric like this and try to push it through. And if you're pushing it through, it could still do funny things back there. And if it starts to go sideways back here, then I am fighting it up here trying to get it to stay straight. Where I found that if I hold a hand back here, I can get it to stay straight much better.
Got it.
So that's what I do. Do you want to come around this side and show? Just come around. Yeah. I'm going to show my hand position so you guys could see it a little bit better. So when I'm sewing, I just have it here. So basically I'm working it so that it'll come straight through the machine. Because if I'm doing like this, it will want to do like this sort of thing. And so if I hold it here, I can get it to go straight through. It's a good question.
Got it.
Yeah. It's a weird little thing that I do. All right. Do you want to come? Okay. We'll figure out our plan there. Somebody asked if I prefer the dual feed or a walking foot, and they really just have their own purposes. Yeah, I like them both. I love the crescendo. It has sewn through anything and everything, but this thing works really well too. And I like there is a difference. It's kind of interesting because the reason we use this is because I could see better on the walking foot with this one for this project. So I feel a little bit like sort of spoiled because I have both machines and I get to pick and choose. But I have found that they're just different for different reasons. I think if you have more than one machine, you kind of realize that. Like if you have a featherweight as well, like a lot of us have featherweights, and yeah, you realize those are really good for piecing cotton. You can actually sew cuddle on them too, because I've done that.
Well, the featherweight has a walking foot attachment, right?
I bought a generic walking foot for it, and I can totally sew cuddle on it.
One day we're going to do a show up here with,
with the featherweight. That would be super fun. That would be super fun.
We talked about it before.
Okay, so now I've got this first border on. So now I have to put the second border on that's going to have those snowballs that I made. All right, so I'm going to pet my fabric, make sure, and I got all of these. I think every single one of them in the right direction. So I'm going to make sure I get them on here in the right direction. So they're going to go on here. This should, if we did it right, it'll come up and meet the edge. Fingers crossed. Okay. I kind of want to use I'm going to use my 505 spray, mostly because I'm just addicted to this stuff. Not really, but it will hold that down really nicely. Oops, I did spray on the front. Just a little. Okay. We won't tell anybody.
It also washes out, right?
It totally washes out.
Okay,
So, it just means I have to wash the pillow now, which, I didn't particularly want to, but I totally can. Okay. So this is where I get a little bit kind of futzy sometimes. And I'm totally going to do this with you guys because maybe there's some others. If you have sewn with me very much, you know that I don't tend to get futzy about things. I tend to be really like, yeah, it's fine, whatever. This is one because I really want this to actually, be lined up. So I want this to be a 1/2 inch all the way across here. You can see that my top here, okay, it's not perfectly straight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this up to 3/4 of an inch.
I'm trying to find a good view here.
Okay. So I'll move my ruler around too so it's not as wonky. So here's 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch is where I'm supposed to be sewing this at a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then it will be even. Okay, there we go. So this is especially what I was trying to take care of is where it gets a little short there. I want to make sure that I get it covered right. Okay.
And you're just using a ballpoint pen.
Just using a ballpoint pen. It's going to hide underneath there. Yeah. Did I get that too far? Nope. That was right. Okay. So I'm going to do that over here too. So 3/4 of an inch. Looks like that one was pretty straight, but oh, definitely went down a little. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing here. Just because this is a long one, what I would do otherwise is I would just take this to the iron. I just don't want to set up the whole ironing board again. So I'm doing it the fast way. Just spray baste it down. And the little one didn't make such a big difference because it's so little. It kind of wants to stay over anyway.
You mean the side?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, the sides are just little, so they kind of stay there. Okay, so 3/4 of an inch again. Did that one right? Yes. That did not stick right there. My guess is that's my fault that I didn't actually spray it there. Okay. And then one more end. Okay. So like I said, there are places that I will get a little persnickety about. This is one of them because that little edge is going to show. Okay, so now we can do this. All right, so now I've got my naps going the right direction. It's going the same direction as my fabric here. Okay, so now I'm going to put this on here and I'm going to bump this up to the line that I drew. Okay, yeah, Ellen said somebody didn't understand the step of the 3/4 inch mark. So let me explain really quick.
I'm not understanding it either, but I figure we're getting there.
So what I'm doing, what I'm trying to do is make sure that this is going to be a 1/2 inch all the way around, so that when I sew this, I'm just going to have a 1/2 inch of gray, because that's what I'm supposed to have. Because this is a little wobbly, if I do a 1/4 inch here, I'm going to have less than a 1/2 of an inch of strip here.
Okay, so you've got
so
a 1/2
I'm
inch
trying
of border
to
plus a 1/4
plus a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I'm trying to get it so that this should be my raw edge. And in most places I did pretty good, but there's a couple places I wobbled a little. So I'm going to make it so that if I line this up and I sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance, it's going to be a 1/2 inch from this seam all the way around. Okay? So if that didn't make sense, let us know in the comments and I will explain more.
I think it's about to. I think what you're about to do is
it's going to make it all okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to turn this around so I can pin the right direction. We've talked about it before. I'll reiterate that if you are right-handed, you want to pin so that you are pinning from the right to the left, so that when it comes through the machine, you're going to take your pins out as you go. All right? If I pin on this side and I pin right-handed, this side is going to go into my machine first, which means the heads are up here, and I don't want to do that. So that's why I just swapped this around, and I'm going to start up here. I'm going to do the same thing that we did before. Okay, and I'm going to pin this in the corner. I'm going to bring it over here. I'm going to pin this in the corner, and then we're going to make it work. And this is a good little tug, and that's fine. Tug it over, make it work. Okay, and I'm going to actually pin this quite a lot in here because I really want it to work. I want it to stay where I want it to stay. After I went through all of that effort, right, to make the seam allowance line, or it's really like the raw edge line. I want to make sure that it's actually going to stay where I want it to. These seams, I played with this a little bit yesterday, and I realized that, like normally in quilting, we would open these up, or we would, decide which way to press. I'm a seam opener is what I like to do, but this one I'm going to press these all toward the penguin block. Okay, and I'm just going to pin these in place. I'm not going to double pin. I think it will be just fine without it.
Why?
Because good question.
Hi, I'm 5. Why?
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 Hawk always has to ask why. It's totally good. The reason is because I'm sewing the cuddle to cotton, which I'm not so worried about. Okay, it's not going to move quite as much, and I've also got it stabilized with the SF101, so it's not going to move as much as it normally would. All right, so the stabilizing with the SF101, somebody had suggested recently that you could do that on the edges of everything to sew it, and it would be easier. It's also really time consuming and could get very expensive. So I feel like the double pinning is really good in a lot of places. In this situation, we've used the SF101, the interfacing, to make it do what I want it to. And one of those things is to be a little bit more stable as I'm sewing these. All right, so there's that one. I mean, we may get around and we may be halfway through it and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna double pin now. It could happen. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pet it. My nap is going that direction, so I need to turn this so that my nap is going the same way as this. So when I pet the whole thing, it'll all come down. Okay? So now I do the same thing. Flip it over and pin one end, the other, in between. All of that good stuff. Okay, so that one I'm off just a little. So I'm going to pin it up. I'll come back over here, get that gray down where I want it to be, pin it in place. Okay, it's interesting because normally when we work with cuddle, at this point we really have a lot of stretch and we have a lot of sort of play in it that we can use. And because we've backed it, it doesn't have that so much. So you have to be a little bit more careful in what we're doing. Okay. I was like, I have more pins somewhere. All right. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Just a warning, guys. Could get loud.
Incoming!
Allergies have been crazy lately. I don't know if anybody else is experiencing that, but wow. They've been a doozy. All right. Some more.
That and you have 2 sewing studios in the house.
Full of cuddle.
Cuddle? Yeah.
It's true, I do. Make sure that this is pinned accurately. And we're going to do the same thing we always do, where we're going to sew it and then check it just to make sure. Okay. All right. So I am going to, I'm going to double pin right here because I know that I have to take that out pretty quick and I don't want that first little bit to move. So it's sort of just a securing place for me. So this is where I start. So this is what I was saying, is that this side is closest to me, right? If I start pinning here, so we're just going to pin randomly here. If I pin this way and I start sewing this direction, with this I can slowly take the pin out. With this I have to take the pin out way before. I just have to take it out before I even get it into the machine because there's no way I could get that pin out. So it doesn't do me any good if the pins are this direction. I have to take them out long before I want to. So when you're pinning, if you're left-handed, this is the way you'd want to pin because you could pin here. Okay? If you're right-handed, always pin further away from you. So I'm going to pin over here and pin this direction. Okay? Super small little detail that you can change in the way that you do things that actually makes a huge difference in how easy it is to sew this stuff. Because then you just take the pins out slowly, having to like stop and take them out long before. They do less good and, you know, it's frustrating. So, all right, we're going to come over here. I'm going to push this back just slightly so I have a little bit more table room. Still have my stickies from like 4 weeks ago on there. That's okay. All right, so I'm going to stick this in, line up the edge. This did not line up perfectly. I'm going to rehash it just a little. I just want it perfect, you know. Okay. All right. So I'm going to put my needle down, stitch a little. I'm going to back stitch just to make sure. I'm going to work my way along here. Okay, and I'm just using this little line on my foot to keep it at the 1/4 inch. That my reading glasses will make a big difference. Okay, so this blue pen, that's my edge. So that's what I'm trying to make sure runs right along that 1/4 inch.
So not the fabric at this point, you're actually following that ballpoint pen line.
Yep.
Got it.
That's what'll give me, hopefully, if it works right, it'll give me that really nice even seam allowance. Or not seam allowance, but border. Mm-hmm. So hopefully it should end up with a pretty accurate 1/2 inch. I totally use that. I have done it lots of times, and I totally use it on cotton as well. So it's not just like a cuddle technique. Okay, you can see my fabric move just a tiny bit. Hold it in place as we get there. Okay. So I'm going to use that line and just aim straight. Because sometimes things get a little bit off, and it's okay.
You just played pin chicken.
I did. I've been doing it the whole time. That's what we do. But I usually win.
I really like how late you can pull the pins out.
I do too.
Now that you've expressed why that's better.
Yeah, then because I can get this pin all the way in. If this were backwards, I would have had to pull it out a while ago. So it just really, it holds it in check a lot better. And I do appreciate it. So doing it this way too, if I decide that like, oh, it's too crooked, I don't like it, because sometimes I really don't like how crooked the borders get, you can absolutely redo it and stitch it again. Sort of like how we fix cuddle quilts. You just stitch it again, it's fine.
There was
my
a
pins.
question about this cool light that we've got in front.
Oh yeah, so that is a, this is from Daylight, and I really, really like it. We have a few of them. They're great lights. It has so much light to it that you can sew very late at night, and it's fine. You can absolutely see.
It's got this.
That was a lot of light on my eyeball.
Yeah. That was definitely.
That's okay. I was like, where did that come from? Oh, it's just Hawk. It's just Hawk. Just moving lights around. Okay. Aiming for that little ballpoint pen line. Hoping for the best. Definitely could have pinned a little more. But as you see, I can pin more as I go. And that's helpful. So I do a lot of this manipulating with the foot, and I think that that's one of the things about this kind of walking foot that does make it different. It's like I feel like the toes get caught on things a little bit more than they do on the digital dual feed.
Yeah, basically every time you hit an open seam, you are lifting it up and making sure it sets back down.
Yeah, yeah, because it wants to kind of catch it like that. So I gotta shove it underneath. It's gotten to a, so I can feel one of the things that's happening. You guys probably can't see it, but I can feel it. One is that got off the line a little. Oh well. You're gonna talk me down from that one. I won't redo it, right, Hawk? That was, sorry. I knew that was coming. I knew I was okay too. But the SF-101, because I oversprayed a little, my foot wants to stick to it back here. So just so you know, that sometimes can be an issue. See, and then that starts to happen, and I have to reposition.
Everybody wants you to get your stiletto back.
I know! I can't believe it. I know I have one up here. Oh, you know what? How many can we open?
All of them.
All of them. I know. Okay, I have one. This will help. It was the one that was just still in the package that I could show you what the package looked like, but you know, I'll put it back in the package when I'm done. It's just nice to be able to show like how you're going to purchase it if you find it in a store. So here we go. Here's my stiletto. Fine, let's do it. This will help me a lot. You're so right.
My camera view has really been showing how close your fingers were getting. That's what's going on.
Oh, God. Now they're just going to show how close my stiletto is getting.
Oh, yeah. That seems way more sane.
It is. You know, it's so funny because I probably, like literally, you guys, I probably have 6 of these in the house, which is ridiculous. I love them so much. I can't tell you, like every time I get a chance to get one, I'm like, yeah, I'll take that. Mm-hmm.
You mean like one for each machine?
Yeah, well, yes. And one for, you know, any project that I've got going at a time. Okay. All right. Let's see if that worked. Oh, it seemed to work okay. Okay. All right. I'm going to move that just a little bit. Okay, so now I've got my side things on there. Okay. Oh, look at that. Pretty well worked. I'm just the tiniest bit off of my batting. I didn't quite get it there right. Oopsie. It's all right. We'll be okay. I got it up at the top that much, though. Part of it is because batting stretches and it moves, so this probably just a little bit got pulled up funky. I don't know where my sheet is. I had a sheet up here. And I moved it because I was trying to clean up. I was trying to get it nice again. Yep, that's exactly. Can you give me that? I was like, I'm just going to use the pattern. I need a few of them. This is what happens when you don't have your thing. I really don't want to spray my table, is what I'm doing. But I do want to spray these down. Oops, I don't want to lose my buttons either. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to... This reminds me of classes when we got to do them in stores, and I would totally be like, do you have any scrap paper anywhere?
Just use the pattern. It'll be fine.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. Okay, so if I were to do this again, which I probably will because I really like these. So one thing I would do is I would draw this line instead of cutting this out this size. I would draw it that line. Does that make sense? So I'd give myself, and then cut it out afterwards. So I'd give myself. So there you go. There's your insider's tip. Give yourself another extra couple of rooms just in case your batting decides to do some funky things. Okay, but then you at least have a little bit of extra. Okay, and I'm just doing, this is totally how we do our quilts. This little thing, in class we always call it swimming it up. We kind of just swish it up from underneath. You're just going to push it up. You don't want to stretch it, so you're just kind of trying to push it up. I'm not like pushing it, just trying to get it nice and flat. Okay, the good thing with it being backed with the SF101 too is that it doesn't stretch. So even if I do this, it doesn't really do anything.
Well, all
right.
Somebody asked about, is there a fusible batting?
There is. There is fusible batting. I tried it once with the cuddle to try to see if I could get that to work, and I didn't like it because you have to iron it so hard. So when you're doing it with cotton, you can iron from the front, and it's fine, and it'll sort of like activate the fusible, which is how all the fusible works. So like this, I iron it from the back, and I can do it from the back of the batting. To get through the batting, melt the fusible, and stick it to the fabric is a lot of heat and pressure that just takes more time. So it was possible, but it took a long time of me holding the iron on there and then holding the iron on there and then holding the iron on there and holding, and I was just like, I could just spray and it's done, ta-da. So you can use it. It's much better with cotton. So I will say it's much better with the cotton. I think that I want to say June Taylor makes some with fusible, and I might be wrong, but I know I've seen other battings that are, like I've seen just generic batting that has fusible, but I think that they make some too. They do work better with cotton. So, doable, not as good for this product. Okay, so now I've got my sides. So, okay, so I've got the whole thing. Let me hold it up, show you guys, okay?
There you go.
So,
all right.
Okay, we're getting there. So now we're going to do the sides. That's pretty cute, right?
It's getting there.
It's getting there. Okay, and you can use, these were just fabrics that I picked.
No eyes is funny.
Yeah, it is kind of funny.
Like they're all blinking.
They're all mid-blink, exactly. Okay, get the red bits. All right, so now we're going to stick on the side. I did the same thing, and I put the fusible on the back. Okay. So I'm going to, this one you probably wouldn't have to. I just wanted them all to work the same. You can see that it kind of, it lays differently with the, you might not be able to see it quite as well, is that it just has a different hand when it's not backed. Okay, so this is the backed with it, and this is not backed with it. This just wads up a lot more, so it's softer. This one doesn't really, it starts to act like a cotton, which, yeah, it has its pros and cons. So this one you wouldn't necessarily have to. I just wanted them all to be the same on here. So that's why I backed these. All right, so I made sure my nap is going the right way. Flip these over, pin them down, stitch it. Ta-da. Okay. What is the fabric? The white fabric on the brim of the snowman's hat is Sherpa. Yeah, so these are Sherpa, and then that was obviously just the penguin fabric. Okay. So I'm going to do some double pinning on this one. I'm going to pin up there and down here.
You're double pinning on the short ends because of which direction the knit is?
No, I'm double pinning this side because it's cuddle on cuddle.
Got it.
So cuddle on cuddle will just move more.
Got it.
So I'm just going to double pin there.
Why? Why?
Why is it going to move more? Because it is, honey, okay? Because I said so. I haven't had to say that in a long time. My kid's being grown. You know. It's not something I have to say too often. I'm going to see if I can get that to stick out a little bit better where I want it to. So I can get that nice and even. So yeah, the border will end up a little bit nicer if you press it first, but I just didn't want to drag everything out.
With all of the amazing different cuddles, the digital cuddles, the C3, the hides, and even the faux furs, when you go to Shannon Fabric's website, you can see a list of those, right? And then that gives you the ability to ask your local quilt shop where to find them.
Correct.
I'm following up on a question that I'm seeing coming through the feed, guys.
Yes.
So
yes.
Yes, there's a master list, and that's a good way to tell your store what you'd like them to carry.
Exactly. So if you see something, a lot of stores, local quilt shops, they really just want to know what you want to buy. So if you go in and you tell them, they are much more likely to get it. The same way if they don't carry cuddle, you can, oops, that needs to go here. So that's going to flip over here. I want to make sure I get this little guy in there. But you can talk to your local quilt shop and let them know what you want. Like from what I know from talking to all the quilt shops that I've ever talked to, which is a lot, they often want to know what people have. They can't always get everything, but they want to hear from you. So, yeah, ask them. Ask them to get it. And a lot of them, especially if you tell them like where you found out, they'll be excited to know that, oh, I saw she was working with Sherpa on the Sew Together Tuesday, blah, blah, blah. Let them know. Absolutely. Yes, and you can see all of the fabrics that are available. It's very hard for shops to carry all of the fabrics, so do be patient with them. But let them know what you want. Okay. It's interesting. You can't really feel it, but there's like so much thickness here with all of the nap in there. It gets so crazy. It's just a lot in there, right there. All these different.
It's not Pat the Penguin playmat a lot, though.
No, that's true. True. Pat the Penguin was a thing. Yeah, he's got a lot of thickness there.
Like 12 layers of cuddle.
It's true. In one little spot. When those wings were there, yeah, they definitely. It's a lot of layers. Yeah, we just did the Lammy recently, and that one had a lot of layers too. Okay, so I'm going to double pin this. So you can see I did my first row first. Obviously, that was redundant. I did the outside row first. Some people like to pin back and forth. I like to do the first row and then do the second row. So I think it's just kind of personal preference. Look, I have a stiletto now. Let's use it. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to go back over here. I'm going to stick it under. And we'll take that pin out because that was going to be too close. Okay. Whoa. What was that? I don't know what just happened there. Okay. Take these pins out. Get this arranged. I'm trying to keep a bunch of the fabric, so all of this, I'm trying to keep this up over here so it doesn't drag down too much. Even though it's backed with the cuddle in it, or with the SF101, and it's not such a big piece, I just feel like it's much easier on the machine if I can keep the weight over here. I feel like that's true with almost all sewing. So that was my little thick spot. I can kind of keep it where I want it to be with my stiletto. Hold the end together. Do a little fold, but that's okay. I didn't catch it. I'll cut my thread. It happens. Happens to the best of us. Okay, now I'm going to come around to the other end and sew that one. So this is something that I do fairly often, is I like to do sort of, I'll say chain piece, and it's not it, but like I'll try to tackle the similar steps in a row. So also, you know, one end then the other end. And it does save a little bit of time, especially if they've encouraged us to, you know, be able to move around a lot. Get up, use your sewing machine or your ironing board, come back, sit down, blah, blah, blah. That got me. Did you hear that? That was the ouch, the pin stabbed me. Somebody asked me recently if I never poked myself anymore. I was like, oh, all the time. All the time I do. So this one got a little long. Not sure what happened. Don't really care. I'm just going to trim it off. Okay. I'm going to say that was, you know, I did something wrong. All right. So. Gremlins, exactly. What I need are studio cleaning fairies, not gremlins. At all. Okay. So I'm going to take these.
Sorry, I'm busy.
So I'm going to take out all of my pins, make sure we got those all out. Okay, then that's going to go over there. Ooh, the sides are going to match. That's good. Okay. Ta-da. All right, so let me put those down as well with the basting spray, and I'm going to do the same thing and just use my quote-unquote scrap paper because I can just print that out again.
Well, that's interesting. Is there any times where you would ever pin from the center out?
I sort of do, because I pin from the end, and then the center, and then I fill in between. But I feel like if you pin from the center out, like you end up stretching things more, and I don't want to stretch. So I'm trying to avoid stretching in any way that I can. Okay, remove those. Leave these here, bring the other end around. And then I'm just spraying the back of this. So instead of spraying the fabric, which is what I often like to do, I'm spraying the batting so that I can not spray on the front on accident. Okay. There we go. Look at that. We got a whole front. So now we got it all together. Okay. I can show you what happened here. It's that I have like a little roll that happened here. And there's a little extra batting here. So it ends up being a little short there. Shrug. Okay. It'll all be okay. Okay. So what I would do at this point, if you wanted to actually quilt the whole thing, you could do, and like, honestly, like, patterns like this are so varied. We're doing most of this with cuddle and just a little bit of cotton, but you could absolutely do all of this with cotton except for these guys, which would be super cute too. I like it with the cuddle all the way around. I think it's gonna be really fun. But just, you know, there are choices. You have choices. So now we have the backing of it. The way this works is envelope style. So we're gonna put it together so that it overlaps. And then the pillow will go in through here. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is do the ends. I already did it on the one, so you can see I folded this over and stitched it down. So that's there. This one, we'll do this one, and I'll show you how I did that. Okay, so this is just the nice end to it. Truthfully, you could probably just do one end because this isn't going to fray because it's cuddle. But I did put the, oh, now I forgot the name of it. Ellen, I told you what it is. What is it? Knit. It's like the knit stay tape. It's soft and stretch. It's kind of like Wonder Tape, but it is for knit fabrics. So what it does is it really, like, I could go and I could press this if my iron were hot. It's not, but you can see that it actually just gives it something to fold over on. Ta-da. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pin this in place in a couple places before I flip it, and then I'm going to pin it. But I'm going to just try to get it fairly even here, and it is because that tape is on there. And what it does, what I like about this tape is that it still lets the fabric stretch a little bit. Okay, so that this is on the lengthwise, so it's not going to stretch a whole lot anyway, but it does let it stretch, which is great, because if you're using this on a knit fabric, you want it to be able to stretch. Okay. Move my scrap paper again. Okay. Heat and Bond soft stretch. Thank you, Ellen. I know I told her this morning what it was so that she would know, and then I totally forgot. It's hard to remember all the brand names for things. Mostly I just know, like, you get that stuff for the knit.
So you pinned perpendicular and now you're pinning parallel.
Yeah, I pinned perpendicular to hold it in place so that I could just turn it over quickly. Because I knew I could see it from that side. This side I wasn't going to be able to see if I turned it over a ½ inch evenly.
Gotcha.
So I wanted to do it first from the other side. Okay, so now let's take it over and we'll pin it. Or sew it. The first one that I did 2 rows of it. I'm just going to do 1 row on this one, but this would be a time that you could also use a double needle if you wanted one. Okay, so I'm gonna, oops. Okay, I'm going to see where my fabric is coming down so I can feel it's over here, and I wanted to make sure I was going to catch that well. So I'm just going to do a little lock stitch and then go forward. We're just going to sew right along this edge, just turning it under, giving it a little hem so that it's finished. And this will be our backing. Okay. I think this will be extra yummy too because it's got the cuddle on the back of it.
If you were going to quilt it, would you wait to do the finished cut on the backing until after you were done quilting?
Yes. Yes, exactly. So if you're going to quilt it, you're going to want to have it a little bit bigger, do all of your quilting, and then trim it to the right size. You may have to make the back a little bit smaller because when we quilt, it can sometimes bring it in. So it might end up being like a 1/4 inch smaller than they say it should be originally. And that's just going to be because the quilting pulls things up a little. That's no big deal. The pillow itself is a 16 by 38 pillow. The one that we have was like a body pillow that we're repurposing. But Fairfield makes them that are this size exactly, that work really well for Kimberbell. The cool thing about it is that you can buy one and then just reuse it all year for all of the different projects that you could make with this, these patterns. Because they have a bunch of bench pillow ones. They have ones with names, and like I said, for seasons and holidays and all sorts of fun stuff. Okay, lots of quilt shops carry them. Lots and lots of them. Okay, so now I've got this one. So now we need to put them together. Are you ready? You ready for this, Hawk?
I'm ready.
Okay, so the big one is the one that I want to be on the outside. So when this comes together, I want the longer one to be on top. So I'm going to lay it down first. Okay, and I'm going to get my ends to match. It's going to be, pretty close. Is it going to be perfect? No, and that's okay. It'll be close, really close. Okay, so then I'm going to come to the other end and I'm going to put the one that we just did down. Make sure that my nap was actually right, because if it's wrong now, I'm out of luck. But I'm going to verify. It is right. So that's great. I did the right prep work. Okay, so now here is my, can you see this okay? So here's the first one I laid down with the outside edge here. Okay, so right sides together with the front of the pillow. I matched up this one. Whatever the overlap is what the overlap is. It looks like it's about 4 inches, 3.5 inches. Okay, that's totally fine. I'm going to leave this as it is. I'm going to make sure that that's stretched nice and taut. So this wants to come in just a little, and I'm going to make sure that it's really tight across here, and then it will hold the pillow in place. Okay, I'll make sure I caught all the questions that she was asking here. Yep, alarm is, but it should not be here. Sorry, guys.
Got it.
Yeah, how do you make it go away? How do I have so many alarms? Didn't I tell it not to disturb? I tell you.
Yeah.
Technology. Michael knows. I have a real love-hate relationship with it. Okay, with this, we are working across the stretch. Burp, burp. Okay, so one, I don't want to pull it too much. You see how if I pull it, it does that little curl thing? The more you do that, the more that curl will stay. Okay, so don't do it much. I'm going to pin it to the point that it almost overlaps, and then I'm going to do it over here. so that when I pin that overlap that it actually works, just in case this isn't perfectly aligned yet. All right. Okay. All right, and we're going to just double pin this whole thing. So we'll see how that's going to work if I have enough pins. I have a new box, but I left them in the other studio. Okay, we're just going to pin all the way around. We're going to sew it in one fell swoop, and then we'll be done. That's it. Okay, super duper cute. And like I said, this project has so many variables. It makes it kind of a fun one to do, because you could do it for lots of things, lots of events. Okay.
What's your thoughts on zipper instead of envelopes for this project?
What's my thought on doing a zipper for it? You absolutely could, and I actually considered it until I was like, Teresa, you mess with the pattern so much. So I decided that I wouldn't mess with it in that way this time. You could absolutely do it that way, and it would be perfectly reasonable. What I would do is I would put a zipper. I want to put the zipper in the side, but I would want to do a hidden zipper. If you do it down here, you're going to have like a decent size zipper to be able to get that pillow to come in and fill the corners. So you'd probably want at least like an 18-inch. Yeah, I'd probably put an 18-inch zipper in here, and then you could sort of feed the pillow up into here. And you could absolutely do that. Yeah, I thought about it. You could also do it in the back and put these two together, put a seam in the back, and then just do a zipper down the middle. That would work too. It would definitely hold it tighter, because one of the things, one of the reasons that I wanted to do a zipper in is because it will hold the pillowcase on it tighter. It doesn't let it move at all, which gives it, I think, a nicer finish. But this is how the pattern asked us to do it, and I was trying to follow the pattern for once, you know.
And we still haven't added any of the embellishments or anything yet, and that's helping you to be able to square up the front and the back.
Right, exactly. So the pom-poms, I have the little pom-poms ready for their hats, but if those are in here, they just add like distortion to it, right. And that's not as much fun to sew. So I'm going to wait till it's all done and then sew those on. Yes, I'll probably won't show you how to sew all of those on because it's a lot, but I will show you how to do it just a little bit. Oh, that's where my little thing got messed up. So somehow this ended up short, and I don't know how exactly, because see, those don't match. Ta-da. Oh, I don't know. Okay.
Let it go.
Let it go. Okay, so I'm just going to try. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to let it even out, because this is big enough that this is almost a half an inch off there. Okay, but it's even over here. So I'm going to just kind of make this work in quickly and make it fit. Okay, because I'm just not that much of a perfectionist, even though I just marked all of my, quasi-raw edges on that thing. So, I pick and choose. I pick and choose my battles. This isn't going to be one. This is one, though, that at the end you could totally serge this edges if you wanted to, if you're a serger fan, which I know there are a lot of you out there. I actually don't use my serger for cuddle very often, but this might be a situation where I would at least probably go over and zigzag these edges and hold them down nice and flat. You wouldn't have to. So if you don't want to do any sort of finishing on here, don't do it.
It's on the inside.
It's on the inside. Nobody's going to see it except for you. Okay. I don't know that I'm going to get my double row with pins. I'm going to have to be like repurposing pins as I come along. I think that's what's going to happen. I have like basically every brand and style of pins. What happens when I go to classes is I end up with other people's pins. People borrow my pins and they give me a pin back, not realizing that I don't actually want that kind of pin.
It's the pin pool.
So I have some pins in there that I wouldn't otherwise have in my pin cushion. And I think I'm going to have to use them. So I'm going to do it. So I just shifted this a little bit down here. Okay. I'm going to see if we can make that work. I'm going to get that to feed in here pretty quickly because I want this to be even with this, because if this seam allowance gets too big, it's going to mess it up. And so I don't want that to happen. I want this seam allowance to be the 1/4 inch all the way across. So that's why I'm trying to fudge it over here at the corner. So I'm going to get it to work in really quickly here, and then be a 1/4 inch all the way across. Okay, so there's certain places we can futz with things. This is one of them. Okay, so these are the, we've talked about pins bunch, but these are the ones, so these yellow ones and the white one, green ones, these guys are all from the big box of clover pins. And these are the stronger pins. So they work really nicely. I tend to use, I have a whole card of pins over here too. I could just open up all of my display stuff today. That's what I can do. So much for leaving that for classes. All right. All right, there we go. Okay, so now I've got all 4 edges pinned. I've got this edge double pinned. I'm going to see if I can double pin a little bit more. I'm going to start from my wonky side so that it doesn't surprise me when I get over there, because I feel like that could happen, that I would get there and forget what I was even thinking when I started that. I do have a plan. So I'm going to use basically all of my pins. You know how this goes, guys. If you sew with Cuddle very much, you're like, wait, I have no more pins. That's what I'm doing now. So I'm going to use all of my good pins, not so much the ones left over. And I'm going to sew along this. As I go, I'll have more pins and I can actually just double pin as I go, which is what I'm going to do. Okay, you ready? Yeah. Okay. Let's do it. Please discuss why you don't use the serger. Yeah, I don't use a serger because I don't like why. This is why I don't use a serger for Cuddle. I just don't particularly love my serger for Cuddle. I love my sewing machine, so it isn't anything particular. I'm just not a big serger person. I use mine to finish seams, and that's it. I know that you can use them for all sorts of things, and people construct quilts on them. Yeah, it's nothing personal, serger. I promise. Just not my thing. Okay. I know a lot of people do use them though. And if I do use my serger, I do it blade down because I don't want the extra mess. So, yeah, I used them, I think, for I would show you, except I've got all my hands busy.
Yeah, Cuddle Dust and sergers don't like each other.
Yeah, it's just a pain. I don't like all the Cuddle Dust. Having to get cleaned out of there. Like, sergers make a big enough mess as it is, if you ask me. But I don't like having to get the extra out. So yeah, you're going to zoom in on this. Okay, so this is something that happens because I am doing 2 layers. I've got pieced down here, and I've got the top up here. And so this is going to want to push forward a little bit, so I can kind of give it a little bit of a tug as I'm going, and that will help. But I'm also got to use my stiletto, so sometimes what I'll end up doing is kind of stabbing it, holding it, and feeding it through. But I'm also going to kind of just feed it through up here. I can do it. So I just kind of keep it going through, because the 2 layers don't necessarily want to work as nicely together as I would like them to. Oh, that's so much easier with the stiletto. They were right. Should probably use a stiletto more often. I use it all the time. That's why they're not in here. So it lets me get that woo, little curl underneath there. Was there a question?
No.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay. What I meant to ask was, when can people use the serger for Cuddle? Oh, whenever you want to. Sorry, it was another question. I know a lot of people do use it, but I only use it to finish seams. So my serger, I've used it to finish seams for the pillowcases, and I've used it when I made a vest out of the Luxe Cuddle, which you can totally do. And then I just used it to finish those seams. I do know somebody just recently asked me if you could use it to make an entire Cuddle blanket. And I said, probably? Question mark?
Maybe a sew as you go?
But you couldn't, because you have to have the batting underneath it. So it would really be like you just stitch around the edges.
Oh, yeah.
That got a little funky right there. I'm gonna fix it. But that's just it. Yeah, it's just not how I do it. So get that smoothed out. I really need 4 hands here. Is what I need. I know you're here. You got an extra free one.
I've got like a half a hand. Sometimes I use both hands for the camera. Sometimes I'm using the
You're all right. Yeah, we did a well, yeah. We made a llama cuddle blanket recently, and it did take the 2 of us to like hold it up and feed it through. Most of that is because my machine is just off the edge here, and I don't have a lap for it to fall into at all.
Yeah, that llama 2-sided llama cuddle was a queen size.
Yeah, no, it wasn't quite. It would have been 60 by, I think it was 60 by 70-ish.
Felt like it weighed about 80 pounds when
Yeah,
we were done.
it was great. Super, super nice. Okay, so you can, like, I don't know if you guys can tell, but like it sews so much differently just without all those bulky seams. So when you're sewing it, just be aware that it's going to sew differently. I think half the battle with cuddle is just knowing what to expect. Okay, so I'm actually going to get to this corner. I'm going to take it out and I'm going to repin the other side. Mostly because I don't want to try to pin it. It'll be much faster if I just pin it outside of the machine and not like literally hanging off the machine. Okay, so cut it. All right, so now I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to keep pinning. Okay, so I'm just going to reuse my pins from this side. And add some more that I've already taken out. Oh, look what happened. Oh no, we're out of bobbin thread. It didn't warn me. Maybe that was the noise my phone was making.
No.
That would be pretty crazy technology if my phone was telling me, warning.
How much did we miss?
Oh, like 6 inches.
That's all
But my
right.
machine didn't tell me either, so I'm kind of sad about that. Okay, guys, we're gonna wind a bobbin because I thought I had enough on here, and I clearly did not. So these are those big fat bobbins. So this is like a new thing if you have an older machine. These are those new ones. So they have some sort of sensory thing here that didn't alert me, but it's supposed to. So that's what these guys are. So they only fit in there one way. All right. They're only going to fit on my spool one way too. Is that thing going to be too much in the way? Okay. All right. So I come around here. Around here. And one of the things, I've told this story a few times to people, but I'm going to tell you guys again. So when I got my first Bernina, I wound it like this, and then I held onto the thread and started it, because that's the way I've always wound a bobbin. Is I hold it, get it going, pshoo, let it go, and it'll keep winding. What that did is totally messed it up. Okay? So, I'm telling you, don't do that. Okay, let's see if we can get it to go. Okay, so I just gave it a little push as I went to make sure that it caught all the way down to the bottom, and now it should fill up pretty evenly. But holding that, when I did that, when I held the bobbin before and let it go and let it start winding, what happened is it was winding it too tight at the very beginning, and it was popping my thread. So it was terrible. Okay, show it over the top. That's a terrible view of my mess back there. All of my crazy samples. Remember when I just said at the beginning of this, I was like, we never show what's right behind you, and this time we did. Okay, and now I did that, and I have no thread up top. So exciting, you guys. Now I have gray. All my threads. Okay, so I used the rest of my thread to wind my bobbin. So I'm going to use a gray up here. So one of the things, did you hear that little noise? This happens sometimes, and I see it in class, and people are like, what is that noise? What is it? It's this. Okay, so if you ever hear that noise, you're like, where is that coming from? Now you know. Okay, so I'm going to do this, stick it through here, get it to come up. It should always have some tension that it'll hang. Okay, and I'm going to stick it in. Back over there.
I can't see that.
Yeah, I can't either. There's a little window right up here.
Yeah, it's got a corner.
No, that's true.
All right,
Okay.
there we go.
So I can stick it in there, pop it in. Now it's good to go. Now I'm going to redo my machine. Sorry guys, so close, so close. So this is another Metler thread because that's what I love is the Metrocene. Okay, make this come up. Around. We want the foot up when we're threading it. Okay, so we're going to come around. That makes those tension discs pop up, which is what we want. So now my thread will keep pulling out, but what I want is it to stop. So if I put the thread down, or the foot down, it totally stops. All right, so now I can stop it and I can thread my needle because I have to do that manually on everything but the embroidery machine now. Thank goodness for reading glasses. All right, I'm going to call them threading glasses from now on, I swear. That's exactly what they're for. Okay, so let me get this. So we'll go back just a little bit and catch that side just a little. And I'm going to finish pinning, 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 and more pinning. Okay, and the key is really just to stab it in and back up. Don't, and you can see I lift it up sometimes. A lot of times people have a lot of trouble pinning because they're trying to like stab it this way and like try to get it to come up. You got to kind of lift it just a little. So I stab it in. See if we can get it. So I stab my pin in and then lift a little and then shove it back out. Okay. A lot of people have trouble pinning this stuff, and it's really because they're trying to pin it in ways that don't really work. Okay. So we're going to go backward, catch this last little bit of the edge since we ran out.
I wish it would dismiss that alarm
it
instead
won't.
of just snoozing it.
Yeah.
You know.
It won't until we go to the alarms, and then we have to turn it off from there.
Right.
Yeah, which means we have to like stop the live, come back later.
Yep. What happened?
So we're just going to keep getting it. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I watched you turn the phone on Do Not Disturb. You would think that it would listen.
Yeah, but it hasn't listened at all. Technology, right?
It's a thing.
It's a thing. I tell it what to do, it doesn't do it. Okay, we're just going to keep going on here. My 1/4 inch seam. Okay. And this one's sewing a little bit better, and I don't know why it sews differently. I swear, every side will be a little different. So when that happens to you, don't think it's just you. It just is. Okay. So give it a little bit of a tug, get it to work through, pull my pins out. Got to get that stiletto back in action. Get it to feed under the foot. Okay. And I'm going to keep repositioning things just slightly to get it to pull out, get tighter, all of that good stuff. Okay. So you can see this pin, like we were talking about it, I can let that pin get right up to the edge. So as we're coming here, this little pin, I can get right up here, and then take it out. This other pin, if this were backwards, if I had to take it out here, I would have to take it out at this point to be able to get my hand in here, to be able to remove it, which means I then have a huge gap that can just move around. So it kind of defeats the purpose a little bit of the double pinning. So I always want to try to make sure that I've pinned. I should have put that back in where it was supposed to be, but I was trying to pin this direction so we can take them out easily. Okay. And I keep giving it a little bit of a tug. Make sure it's nice and taut. Okay. Things are where I want them to be. Excluding that little part. There we go. Okay. All right, we're almost there. One more little corner. And up the easy side. So it's not like these are harder, they're just a little bit more because there's more thickness. So just be aware. All All right, so we're going to get up here, get to the corner. I'm going to pivot. Okay, we'll come up that final side. We're just going to have the whole thing sewn.
Did I just see your stiletto magnetize?
Yes. Yeah, it would totally will do that. Yeah. Sometimes you have to do like a real flick to get the pin off. It's pretty hilarious.
They make a demagnetizer for scissor blades, I think.
Yeah,
I wonder if you could run your stiletto
Ta-da.
through that. Yeah, look at that. That's fun.
Yeah, it might work. I don't know. All right, come back up to that corner. Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go. Okay, and I'm actually going to pivot around this corner and just sew over that just real quick, just to make sure that it's nice and secured. Okay, where it came across. And, you know, stitch down a little seam allowance too. All right, so now I can take that out. I can remove all the pins. Whew. Okay, let's do this. All right. So we'll take all these pins out, put them back. Make sure that the pins are out. Make sure everything is caught. So if something isn't caught, then you're just going to go back around, fix it. Okay, so we're going to turn this. I am going to leave the corners for right now, and I'm going to see if I need to trim them. I tend to not like to trim corners if I don't have to, but this may need it, so we'll see. Oh, no, I think it's good. Okay, so what I do is I come in here and I kind of grab this and then shove it in. Just pop it out. Okay, look at that. It's starting to become something. Then we're going to have to stick some, we'll sew a pom-pom on. And then I'm going to sew eyes for a while. Okay, so I get a corner out. I'll get this other corner out. Okay, if you wanted to, I'll show you how to trim these guys if you want to. So if you want to trim them, you're going to want to trim off just a little here and a little there. Ta-da. Okay, you want to make sure that you don't trim your threads at all. Okay, so get those, stay away from those threads. Stay at least a few threads of fabric away. So this is like a 1/16 of an inch from it. The biggest problem I've had is when I'm doing that with cotton, and if you stitch too close, the fabric will totally fray apart right there. Okay, so you can see that's what it looks like when I did trim it. Doesn't really look any different from when I didn't. There it is. So this one I didn't trim, this one I did.
Gosh, the one you didn't trim actually seems sharper.
Yeah, so,
so
there you go. Yeah, so that's the difference. Okay, I'm going to turn this all the way. Ta-da! Okay, all right, so now they're super fun, right? Super fun. I love it. All right, so now this is the part that gets a little bit extra, which I like. Oh, you're supposed to trim out your basting stitches. Oopsie, didn't do that. At least not all of them. All right, so now I've got pom-poms, which I think are adorable. I posted a little video the other day, but I'm going to show you in a minute. I'll show you how I did those. Okay, look at how cute that is. Just saying, it's adorable. Okay, so let's sew one of those on. Which one do we want to sew? I'm going to finish one of them, Hawk. Do you want to do the penguin?
I think it's the middle guy.
Okay, he's pretty cute. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I have my thread, I have a needle, I have a bonus one just in case. Okay, and I'm just going to put my knot under there. Big ugly knot, and I can feel, so you can sort of see, you can see the fluffing.
Oh, sorry guys, I just changed the camera around. Hi, that was me. That was exciting. All right, show again.
At least you get to see that you did it. So there's the stuffing that's in there, and I'm just going to.
I don't know if that's ever happened before. That was fun.
What, that you turned it around on
Yeah.
yourself? No, you totally did that.
Okay.
Yeah, not even that long ago even.
Okay.
Yeah, totally happens. They get to see you every once in a while, which is great.
I'm not just talking to myself, really, there is another person here, I promise. Okay, so I'm going to do a few of these stitches, and I'm just going to do like 3 of them. And I'm trying to grab into the batting as well, not just the cotton, because I wanted to be able to pull it tight. Okay.
Oh, I think when that happened, the volume might have changed, so I'm unplugging and replugging.
Okay, we'll see if that helps. Okay, so now I'm gonna pull that nice and tight. Okay, I'm gonna do this like I do buttons, where I do like the little shank thing to get it to stick really nicely. Let's see if we can turn this so you guys can see. So I've got it pulled really tight, and then I'm gonna go like this, and I'm just gonna tie a little knot here. Okay, did that make sense with what I just did at the end? I'm not sure. Sometimes I say things and I do it too fast. So basically I'm sewing it on like I do a button. So once I do like the wrap, then I wrap around it and give it a little shank sort of thing. All right, and then I'm gonna...
Oh, like a button.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, there we go. Ta-da. Okay, there's that. Yay. Look.
Oh, wow, that was crazy.
That was exciting.
Almost lost you.
Wow. That could have been nuts. Just kidding. We would have come back. And they would have been like, and I guess that's it. Like,
And
that's all we needed. All right, so let's sew some eyes on too. All right, and then we'll just lay the other ones on there. You guys can see how cute they are. All right, I will say with this one, I used tomato for that one, and you can see it's not the right orange, so don't get tomato. I mean, you can get tomato, but just don't use it for the carrot nose. It's okay, but I think that like the orange would have been better. If you're going to buy fabric specifically for this project, don't get tomato. All right. I don't know what that little doohickey is right there. I can't tell.
It's a stitch from something.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, so now I've got my buttons. Where are they? Hold on. I'll reach past you. Okay, so now I've got my buttons. And I'm going to sew these guys on there. On the pattern, they have a bunch of them like sewn sort of crooked, which I think are adorable. Oh, look how cute this is. Oh my goodness. We're totally just putting the buttons on just so we can see them. Okay. Are they cute? Check that out. Check it out. So cute. All right, now I'm going to sew some eyes on. Those other cute guys can just hang out. And I'm going to sew these on. Because I am just sewing this for basically adults. That includes you, Hawk.
Why? Why?
I am not going to stitch them on super duper well. Okay, if I were sewing this on for a kid, I would do a lot more like making sure that the button is secured so they don't pull it off and eat it.
You could also use the safety eyes.
You probably could, yeah. Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, it should be kind of fun. Okay. Through that batting is a lot. Actually, it's probably not even through the batting. It's just a lot of layers of cuddle right there. Okay. We get just a few little stitches on there. Make sure that the threads are even as much as I can. Okay. I'm just going to sew these on. Do that same thing where I'm going to wrap it around it. Okay. I'm going to pull back here and knot that in the button. Okay. And then we'd go ahead and sew the other eyes on. Okay.
And you're definitely not going through the back.
No, well, I mean, not definitely. It could happen. Just saying. Well, looks like I missed it.
All right.
Whew. Whew. I was just really holding on, like, there was a lot of layers, so I was just kind of hoping that it wasn't actually through the back, and it's not. Technically, you could sew the eyeballs on first and then do it. Like, we got a one-eyed penguin. All right. I'm going to leave it there. All right. So I'm going to put these together. You can take a big shot, and then I'm going to sew these on. I'll post them later on I Love Cuddle. Okay? So, but now you can see how it goes together. You sew the other eye on, sew all the little snowflakes on, or the pom-poms on.
So we didn't talk about actually making a pom-pom yet.
Oh, okay. Let me show you really quick. I just realized we've been talking for a while, you guys. Thanks for hanging out.
Long show, everybody. You're still here.
Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you. Okay, so what I did, this is a different fabric, so we're going to see how this works, because I like to experiment on things, see if it works. Okay, so I'm using my Sharpie, my silver Sharpie. Oh, I used the silver one, and somebody told me the other day they really like the bronze, I think it was, which I didn't really realize they made other like metallic ones. Okay, so this is a coaster, and it is 1, 2, 3, 4, and just a tiny bit, 1/8 of an inch, not even 1/4 of an inch. So a little bit more than a 4-inch circle. So 4 inches will work. I'm going to cut around this. Okay. I'm going to get cuddle dust all over the project that I just finished, because that's the way I like to roll. Did the sound get better, you guys?
Oh yeah,
okay.
Sweet. Everybody checked back in with you about it.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Yep.
Appreciate that.
But when the camera switched, it definitely
switched it
to the phone.
Got
Microphone.
it. Got it. Oh, interesting. Yeah. Who knows? I know. We just keep trying. You guys keep coming back, so I appreciate you very much. Okay, so I've got some cuddle dust on here, and I'm just going to sort of flick it off. Okay. So this is the Sherpa. This is the black Sherpa. And these are the seal. So I chose the seal because I thought they'd be really fun to do. And they were great. I love them. And then I thought, oh, maybe the Sherpa would work too, because it's fluffy. So you wouldn't be able to do this like with a C3. You would see all the pulls around the bottom, but with the other stuff, the fluffier stuff, it works out okay. Sorry, I was going to use the black, but I'm going to use the white thread so you guys can see it better. Is all. Okay, so then all I do is I'm going to go around this whole thing about 1/4 of an inch or so away from the edge. I'm just kind of going in and out. So do a little running stitch. Okay. Oh, you know what that did? It just pulled a little. This might get fun, because this is a looser weave backing. So I may have to knot it differently. We'll see what happens as I pull it around. Okay, I try to keep my thread fairly even. And I just let it curl up just a tiny bit. You don't have to. You could totally lay it flat the whole time. Just do all these stitches all the way around. Okay. And you can see they're nice big stitches, so no tiny stitches, because they're just gathering stitches is all these are. Okay. So go all the way around, and I can do a few stitches at a time, and that's helpful, makes it a little faster. He wants to turn inside out now. Did you see that? That was exciting. Okay. All right. So we're going to pull this around to the beginning, and we're going to hope for the best with that. Okay. And then I'm going to grab some stuffing. So I did find, so this one I'm using the Royal Silk, because that's what I have here with an open bag. It was like about 6 pom-poms worth. Is that I did find, because the Royal Silk is squishier, that I needed a little bit more of it. So I did make one. Oh yeah, okay, so here, this is the one I made with the polyfill, regular polyfill. Okay, the stuff that looks like this bag. Okay, that one I made with this. This one I made with the Royal Silk. So look at the difference in the squishiness. Okay, can you see this one squishes a lot, this one squishes a little.
Gotcha.
All right, so this will get to be a harder ball with less stuffing. So with the Royal Silk, I have to stuff it a little bit more because it squishes down so hard. So this is a great it's a great time for that. Just the regular polyfill. Okay, so I just stuff that in there. I'm going to pull my knot up. Okay, So I'm going to pull that really tight, give it another little tug. I'm just holding it real tight with my fingers. I'm going to feed that through, and I'm going to knot this right now, okay, because it's going to want to keep undoing unless I knot that. Then I'm going to do some big cross grabbing the seams. Okay, and this is totally done by feel, as you can feel it grab or not grab. So you want to make sure that you're grabbing. Also, I think it's hilarious that we did this all in white thread and you can't see it at all. Okay, why I love cuddle. Reason 4,972. Okay, so we're going to just do this. Just knot it in here, do a couple little knots. Now I'm going to stab this through to the other side. Then I'm going to give it a little tug, cut it near the bottom, and those tails will just sink right into the pom-pom itself. There we go. How cute is that? That's going to be, that's for the other one, the little buffalo check hat. Okay, so we'll finish that too. I'll make a little pillow out of it. All right. Do we get everything? I think so. Are you sewing through the backing? No. Could you hot glue the pom-pom on? I guess you could. I feel like sewing it is totally fine, but if you wanted to hot glue it, you could. I would worry about the hot glue with it because the nap, it's a good question. Because the nap is so long, I feel like you'd really have to smush the glue into it and smush down a bunch of it, because otherwise it's going to want to sit at the top and then just be really loose. Okay. All right, there we go. I'm going to put his little eyes back. Okay, I will finish this up, post it later. Look at how cute it is, though. It is really cute, right? You guys like it? Do we approve?
Yeah.
Do we approve? All right, super cute. It's
I like
really big.
I like the derpy eyes right now.
The derpy eyes?
The derpy eyes.
Yeah, they're pretty cute. So there we go.
They all hit the eggnog.
Yeah, totally. So make sure, oh, I missed a spot. I have to fix that. Okay, I'll fix that later. And so yeah, that's all we do. We just kind of fix things along the way, because sometimes that happens. Thank you very much for joining us for Sew Together Tuesday. I'm very happy to be here. I did get to show you these patterns. So this again is a Kimberbell Designs. It's Whimsy Winter is what it's called, the Whimsy Winter Bench Pillow pattern. And as I mentioned before, they have a ton of these. So if this isn't to your liking, they have a bunch of other ones. They're all super cute and great. So that's for this one. Next week, we're back again. Next week, we're going to be we're doing stockings next week. Unless Ellen tells me differently. This is what we're doing for next week. These cute little stockings. Okay. So this is done with an AccuQuilt die. So they have a die that you can make the stockings with, and they turn out super duper cute. Okay. Ta-da. And we'll talk more about these, how to make them. We'll use some different fabrics. I'll have a few different variations for you. Next week, this is also the Sherpa. I'm going to try it with a couple of different fabrics. I will tell you, inside scoop, didn't use the dye for the cuff. So, but the bottom part totally did. And we're also, oh, I forgot to show you guys, we're making it with the silky satin inside. Okay, so this is another one of our fabrics that we really haven't talked about very much. So this will be fun. We'll do it with the satin lining, and so luxurious. Check that out. So that'll be fun. We'll talk about that next week. Talk about the AccuQuilt die and how we use that with Cuddle fabrics. We have a winner, and the winner is Joanne D. And so thank you very much for watching, for sharing, for spreading the love, and making the world a softer place. I'm really happy that you guys are here with us. Thank you again. Happy Thanksgiving and happy pillow making. Till next time, happy sewing.